Ladies and gentlemen, life is a journey filled with seasons, and each season brings its own unique beauty. But there comes a point, a golden milestone, when you realize that true wisdom, strength, and freedom are not found in your younger years, but in the chapters beyond 50. This is not the time to slow down or fade away. It is the time to awaken, to rediscover yourself, and to live with greater purpose than ever before. Today, I invite you to open your heart, quiet your mind, and embrace the truth. The best is yet to come. Ladies and gentlemen, life is a journey filled with seasons, and each season brings its own unique beauty. But there comes a point, a golden milestone, when you realize that true wisdom, strength, and freedom are not found in your younger years, but in the chapters beyond 50. This is not the time to slow down or fade away. It is the time to awaken, to rediscover yourself, and to live with greater purpose than ever before. Today, I invite you to open your heart, quiet your mind, and embrace the truth. The best is yet to come. The gift of crossing 50. Crossing the age of 50 is one of the most misunderstood milestones in life. Society has conditioned us to believe that turning 50 means decline, slowing down, or stepping back from the stage of life. Advertisements speak of anti-aging creams, retirement plans, and slowing metabolism, as if this age is a burden rather than a blessing. But the truth, my friends, is entirely different. Turning 50 is not the end. It is a grand beginning. It is not a closing door, but rather an opening gate to the deepest wisdom, peace, and strength you have ever known. Think about it. Your 20s were about exploring, figuring out who you are, making mistakes, and chasing dreams. Your 30s were about building, laying down foundations, careers, families, and responsibilities. Your 40s were about balancing, managing work, relationships, financial burdens, and often sacrificing your own passions for the sake of others. But your 50s? This is where you finally begin to become. This is the time when you realize that life is not measured by speed but by depth. It's no longer about how many steps you take in a day, but about how present and peaceful you feel while taking them. At 50, you carry within you something priceless: experience. You faced storms that once felt unbearable, and yet here you are, standing stronger than ever. You've celebrated victories that younger people cannot even imagine, and you've endured losses that have carved wisdom into your soul. Each wrinkle on your face is not a mark of weakness, but a signature of life. Each gray hair is not a signal of fading, but a crown of wisdom earned through decades of living, struggling, learning, and rising again. This is why the age of 50 is sacred. It marks the point where you finally stop chasing the illusions that once drained you. You begin to see through the lies of society, that wealth equals happiness, that Yasin, Uth equals worth, that speed equals success. Instead, you understand that real wealth is inner peace, real youth is a joyful spirit, and real success is living in alignment with your soul. At 50, you are finally free to embrace this truth because you no longer live for other people's opinions. You live for the essence of your own soul. So if you are over 50, remind yourself, you are not entering the autumn of your life. You are entering the harvest. This is the season where all the seeds of effort, pain, growth, and resilience that you planted in your earlier years begin to bear fruit. This is not a time to shrink back. It is the time to walk with dignity, with calmness, with power that doesn't need to shout. Remember this. Life after 50 is not about counting the years you have left, but about making the years ahead count. And when you embrace this truth, you realize crossing 50 is not a loss, but a profound gift. Spiritual awakening at midlife. When you cross the age of 50, something subtle yet profound begins to happen. For many, the outer world starts to quiet down. The endless hustle of building careers, raising children, proving your worth, and climbing the social ladder begins to lose its grip on you. The things that once consumed your mind, job titles, material possessions, or the approval of others, suddenly don't feel as urgent as they once did. And in that silence, something beautiful stirs inside of you. You begin to hear the whispers of your soul. This stage of life is not a crisis, it's an invitation. Some call it a midlife crisis, But in truth, it is a midlife awakening. That emptiness you sometimes feel after the children leave the home, after careers stabilize, or after the noise of ambition fades. It isn't a void to fear. It is a sacred space being created inside you, a space where the voice of your higher self can finally be heard. The soul has been waiting patiently all these years while you were busy surviving, building, and giving to others. Now, at 50 and beyond, it begins to gently call you inward. The beauty of this awakening is that it shifts your perspective on life entirely. You begin to realize that your body may age, but your soul is ageless. You may not run as fast as you once did, but your spirit can soar higher than ever before. The youthful energy you once directed outward is now redirected inward, towards reflection, gratitude, and connection with the divine. This is the time to strengthen your spiritual practices, whether it is prayer, meditation, yoga, journaling, or simply sitting quietly in nature. At this stage, you realize that life is not about how much time you have left, but about the depth of each day you live. A single mindful breath, a meaningful conversation, or a quiet walk under the evening sky now feels more valuable than all the frantic rushing you once called success. This is the shift of midlife. It is not about the quantity of experiences, but about their quality. And here lies the true blessing of awakening at this age. Clarity. Clarity about what truly matters and what doesn't. You understand that chasing wealth for the sake of wealth is hollow, that clinging to youth is futile, and that pleasing everyone is impossible. What matters is love, kindness, service, inner joy, and connection with God. What matters is living fully in the present moment, because you now see with greater awareness how fleeting and precious it really is. So if you are over 50, do not fear the silence that comes when life slows down. Embrace it. That silence is the doorway to your awakening. Step through it, and you will discover that your soul has been waiting for this moment all along. The moment where you finally stop living from the outside in and begin living from the inside out. Redefining strength and purpose. When you cross 50, the very definition of strength and purpose begins to transform. In your younger years, strength was measured by how much weight you could lift, how many hours you could work, or how many obstacles you could push through with sheer willpower. Purpose often revolved around building careers, raising families, and securing material stability. But once you enter this sacred stage of life, strength and purpose reveal their deeper, truer meanings. Strength after 50 is no longer about physical dominance. It's about emotional resilience, spiritual grounding, and inner peace. It's the quiet ability to face life's storms without being shaken. It's the wisdom to respond instead of reacting, to choose patience over anger, to forgive rather than carry resentment. This kind of strength cannot be measured by muscles or trophies. It is measured by calmness in the face of chaos, by grace in times of loss, and by compassion even when life has been unkind. And what about purpose? For many people in their 20s and 30s, purpose was external, climbing ladders, achieving goals, making a name. But at 50, something shifts. You realize that true purpose is not always found in chasing after something new. It can be found in living with meaning right where you are. Maybe your purpose now is to mentor the younger generation, to pass on wisdom that only comes from decades of experience. Maybe it is to finally nurture your passions that were buried under the weight of responsibilities. Writing, painting, teaching, traveling, serving your community, or deepening your spiritual path. This is the age where you stop asking, what do I want to achieve? And instead begin asking, what do I want to contribute? Purpose becomes less about accumulation and more about impact. Less about chasing glory and more about leaving a legacy of love, kindness, and wisdom. Think of strength now as the ability to carry invisible weights, the weight of heartbreak, the weight of disappointment, the weight of unfulfilled dreams, and still move forward with hope. Think of purpose now as the ability to light someone else's path. Even if your own journey has been full of challenges, your life itself becomes a message, a teaching, a guide for those who are walking behind you. At this stage, you also learn that your worth is not tied to how busy you are. In fact, the greatest strength is the courage to slow down and live consciously. To say no when something doesn't align with your soul. To honor your boundaries. To spend time with people who uplift you rather than those who drain you. To live not in competition, but in alignment. So, if you are over 50, embrace this redefinition of strength and purpose. You don't need to run at the same speed as before. You don't need to prove yourself endlessly. Your purpose is no longer about being the fastest or the strongest. It's about being the most true to yourself and using that authenticity to guide others. This is not the age to say, I am done. This is the age to say, now I live differently, more consciously, more spiritually, and more meaningfully. Letting go and finding peace. One of the greatest blessings of life after 50 is the gift of letting go. In your earlier years, you held on tightly to ambitions, to relationships, to possessions, and often even to pain. You fought to prove yourself, to earn your place in the world, to be seen and respected. But as you step into your 50s and beyond, something shifts deep inside you. You begin to understand that not everything needs to be held onto. In fact, true peace often comes not from holding on, but from learning how to let go. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about gaining freedom. Think about it. How many times in your life have you carried grudges, regrets, or disappointments like heavy stones in your heart? How many years were wasted replaying mistakes or wondering, what if? At 50, wisdom teaches you that carrying the past only steals the joy of the present. You begin to see that forgiveness of others and of yourself is not weakness, but liberation. It's the unshackling of chains that you've worn for too long. You also begin to let go of the need for validation. In youth, so much of life revolves around how others see you, whether you are successful enough, attractive enough, worthy enough. But after 50, you realize that true success is not about applause. It is about inner contentment. You no longer need to post every achievement for approval. You no longer measure your worth by society's shifting standards. You find peace in simply being, not constantly proving. Another powerful letting go comes in the form of expectations. You stop expecting life to always go according to your plans, because by now you've lived enough to know that life rarely does. You stop expecting perfection in relationships because you've learned that love is not about finding flawless people but about accepting imperfect souls. And you stop expecting yourself to always have it all figured out because you finally see that growth is an endless journey. This letting go also opens the door to gratitude. When your hands are no longer clenched tightly around what you've lost, they are finally free to receive what life is giving you now. Peace begins to flow when you stop comparing your journey to others and start honoring your own. You appreciate the simple joys, a walk in the morning sun, laughter with loved ones, or quiet moments of prayer, because you no longer take them for granted. At 50 and beyond, letting go is not about losing. It is about gaining space for what truly matters. By releasing regrets, you make room for joy. By forgiving, you make room for love. By loosening your grip on the past, you make space for the beauty of the present. And here lies the true awakening. Peace is not something you chase. Peace is what comes to you when you finally release what was never meant to stay. The best chapter is yet to come. If you are over 50, listen carefully. You are not reaching the end. You are stepping into one of the most powerful, beautiful, and liberating chapters of your life. Society often teaches us to fear aging, to believe that everything meaningful happens in youth, and that after 50 we should quietly fade away. But that is the greatest lie of all. The truth is this: the years beyond 50 are not about fading. They are about shining differently. You carry something that no amount of youth can buy. Wisdom. Wisdom earned from heartbreaks that didn't break you, from losses that taught you resilience, from challenges that carved strength into your spirit. Every scar you carry is proof that you've lived, learned, and risen again. The beauty of this stage is that you no longer live blindly, you live with awareness. You see life for what it truly is, fragile, fleeting, and therefore infinitely precious. This is why the best chapter is ahead of you, because you now know how to live more deeply. When you were younger, you rushed through days, always chasing the next thing, the next job, the next success, the next goal. But now you understand that happiness is not in the next, it's in the now. You savor the quiet mornings, the laughter of family, the sweetness of prayer, the simple beauty of being alive. You no longer chase life, you embrace it. At this age, you also discover a new kind of freedom. The freedom to be yourself without apology. You are no longer chained to society's endless expectations. What career you should pursue, how much money you should earn, or how you should look. You finally realize that your worth is not tied to titles or appearances, but to the love you give, the wisdom you share, and the peace you carry. And with that realization comes a powerful sense of liberation. You don't have to live for anyone's approval anymore. The best chapter is also about legacy. What you leave behind is not just wealth or possessions. It's the impact you've made on hearts. The words you've spoken that inspired someone, the kindness you've shown that healed someone, the guidance you've given that shaped someone's future. This is the age to live intentionally, to plant seeds of goodness that will outlive you, and to shine a light that others can follow long after you are gone. Do not fear the years ahead. Embrace them. The world needs your calmness, your guidance, your depth. You are a living library of experiences, and every conversation, every smile, every act of kindness is a gift that only you can give. So if you are 50 or beyond, remember this: the best chapter of your life is not written in the number of years you have left, but in the richness of the moments you choose to create. Walk into this chapter with faith, gratitude, and courage, and you will discover that life, in its deepest and truest sense, has only just begun. As we come to the close of this journey together, I want you to pause and reflect on everything you have heard. Life beyond 50 is not a decline. It is a spiritual ascent. It is the time when the noise of the outside world fades and the music of your soul grows louder. The younger years were necessary to shape you, to test you, to prepare you. But these years, your 50s, 60s, and beyond, these are the years meant to awaken you. Remember this: the number of candles on your birthday cake does not measure your worth. The lines on your face do not measure your beauty. And the calendar does not determine the value of your days. What matters now is not the quantity of years left, but the quality of the life you choose to live today. This chapter is about living consciously. It is about forgiveness, releasing the weight of regrets that no longer serve you. It is about gratitude, seeing the small blessings in everyday life with eyes of wonder. It is about peace, understanding that you no longer have to prove anything to anyone because your existence itself is a gift. If you are over 50, do not let society trick you into believing that your best days are behind you. The truth is that they are right here, in front of you, waiting for you to embrace them with courage. This is the season where your wisdom becomes your power, where your compassion becomes your strength, and where your legacy becomes your purpose. Think of yourself as a lighthouse. The storms you endured in your younger years were not in vain. They gave you the strength to shine now, to guide others safely through their own journeys. Whether it is your children, your grandchildren, your community, or even strangers whose lives you touch, your presence matters, your story matters, your wisdom matters. So step into this chapter with faith. Faith that every breath you take has meaning. Faith that every day carries the possibility of joy. Faith that your Creator has brought you to this moment not to fade away, but to rise into your true self. And most of all, step into it with courage. Courage to let go of what no longer serves you. Courage to live fully in the present moment. Courage to say yes to opportunities for growth, love, and connection, even if they come in unexpected forms. Because the truth is simple. Life after 50 is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the best chapter. A chapter where you live not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Not out of urgency, but out of peace. Not out of pressure, but out of freedom. So, my friends, as you walk forward from today, carry this truth in your heart. The second half of life is not a time to retreat. It is the time to shine. The world still needs your light, and the best is yet to come.